counting and permutations. What we're looking at here is when order is going to matter in the way we select certain things. And that, we'll probably talk more about permutation stuff tomorrow, but I want to talk about is just arrangements, possible ways of selections. And the easiest one to look at is how many sandwiches can you make from the following information? Now, what's that? Why is it 12? That's all it is.
How'd you do that?
Math. She didn't. What happens here, guys, if you start looking at selections of things, if you wanted to choose one out of each column, what you're doing here, you have four choices and 3 choices. So you're taking if you're picking one out of each column in essence here, you're having a ham on white, or you could have a ham on wheat, or a ham on rye, or a turkey on white, and so on and so on. You could diagram this whole thing out.
What about turkey and ham?
I'm picking one. I'm only picking one. I'm not getting that complex yet. Okay. Now we can pick 2. You can pick 2 from each column. You can pick 2 from here. So that starts to get you into the Subway sandwich problem, and we'll talk about that here in a second. So if we start throwing.
When we end this chapter, then we can find something. He can't give us food.
He wasn't going to buy you Subway anyway, so.
Yeah.
It's like $7.
You can't kill us, but we can kill you. It's not unfair. You should.
As he takes it out of his armpit. Oh, it's all nice and squishy.
Inside though.
So we brought this up. Let's say you had 5 choices of cheeses. Then I don't like cheese, so whatever. So 5. That was the first one someone else said earlier today too.
Cheese have a really weird name.
So if you had 4, 3, and 5, how many different ones would there be? 60. All we're doing is multiplying out. Okay. And this is the way that you can ways that events can occur. The number of ways that certain events can occur is if you take the number of ways that one thing can happen, and then the number of ways the next thing can happen, and the number of ways the next thing can happen. Think about rolling to die. Not like rolling in your die, but rolling dice, which is singular.
Oh, I did it because
No, I didn't.
Wait, are they hummers? No, they're hummers.
So if you're going to roll, I just killed JC on that one. I saw that. So if you're rolling, how many sides are on a regular die?
6.
If you roll 2 of them,
12. 6 times 2 is 12.
okay. So again, if you're rolling 2 die, that means the total possible outcomes are
36.
So that's why we start looking at probabilities when you have chunks of 36. That's why certain games, when you're rolling die, are weighted more towards certain numbers. Have you seen the Monopoly boards?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know the reason why certain values are on there more often than others?
Probability.
Probability.
Go to jail.
Think about what is the most common sum when you have a breakdown of 36.
5.
If you're going through a common sums of 36, you can have a 1 and a 1.
We're just going to teach you how to win Monopoly.
16?
1 and 6.
And then you go, so you can have, then be 2.
Definitely 16. It's not 16. You're rolling a 1 and you're rolling a 6. Oh, this is the combination. You do not. I don't have that. It's not your head. Eric, how do we get the 62? What is it?
So just real fast, what I wrote out there were first number is what you roll on the first die, second number is what you roll on the second die. So I can roll a 1 and a 1, 1 and a 2, 1 and 3, and so on and so forth. What's the most common sum? 7. The most common sum is your 7. How do you know? Because I walk through and you add them together.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? So what happens here is that when you're developing a game, you don't want your high values that people can land on to be within any multiples of 7, because it's going to be more apt to land on them. Does that make a little bit of sense? This gets you, and we'll talk more about this whole idea of how numbers work in gaming later. Okay. But that's where we're getting at. Possible outcomes. Okay. What's that? I don't think so.
What's the point of the sentence? That's what you're not supposed to do.
Okay. Does that make sense about why you have 36 possible outcomes? Because you're taking the number of ways that event A can happen versus the number of ways that event B can happen. Yeah, no.
I watched a video of how you can win Guess Who in like 3 moves, I think, or
Let's guess who.
Like, you know the game where they have like your people, you pick like some cards.
it's like, do you
And they're supposed to
have, is the
guess
person
it?
wearing a hat?
Oh, yeah, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. I have an example of that here in a minute. So what we're looking at here, guys, is when we're talking about possible outcomes. You just take the number of ways event A can happen times event B. If there's 3 different things, you multiply 3 different things together. We started talking about Subway. And when you go get a Subway sandwich, if you're just going to pick one bread, one meat, and then toppings and whatnot, I think we counted in third hour, I think somebody looked it up. I think Subway has 6 different breads.
Yes.
Sounds about right? So
6 different yoga mats.
So if you're thinking about at Subway, you have 6 bread. Then you had the meats. I think Cole actually Googled it, and I think he counted that there was 12 different meats, including the meatball, I believe. And then we weren't quite sure about the actual additive toppings, but all I could envision is that when you're on the counter and they're making your sandwiches, you look and they have the trays, and it always looks like there's 3 setups, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it looked like maybe, I don't know, I was kind of guessing there was probably about 24 of them.
No, it's not.
Sounds
If you think about
15.
15 or
No, because there's like.
Banana peppers.
So we just kind of roughly set it. We just said roughly. All right, we'll say 18. Okay.
Banana peppers.
And then you want to talk about spices. They have what? 8 or different spices and things like that.
Yeah. And then like
So I don't know, 8. Then you had. You're right. I forgot cheeses. How many different cheeses do they have?
9.
We'll say they have 9. I
They
don't know.
have.
So, and then last but not least, if you start thinking about, don't they also ask you, do you want that toasted?
Yeah.
You forgot they have sauces.
Okay, how many sauces?
Like 5.
6
Yeah,
sauces.
I thought 8 was 2 sauces.
No,
Oh, that's spices, cheese, sauce.
Spices on your
They have like 2
sandwich?
spices.
Oh my God. No.
There's like salt and pepper and like
Toasted.
Oregano.
thing.
That's
You can have
great.
that's more than 2, right?
There's also, if you want a foot long or 6 inch.
Mr. Murphy, from this picture of Subway, there has to be like
They have
20
8
toppings.
cheeses.
There's like one.
So-
Got the cheeses.
I got cheeses right here, 6.
Oh, it's 8 cheeses.
Yes, sir.
9 cheeses.
Wouldn't you add
21
one to
pounds.
There's 21 toppings.
Guys. What's that?
Wouldn't you add 1 to every single thing? You always have the option of not getting any, with the exception of the bread and meat.
Well, if you have to pick one from each event, and you're right, there are different. I'm doing a very generic way of doing it. You're getting too crazy into it right now. We're not there yet. There are ways of looking at it that you could have that option and not choose anything. So it's an option you're not utilizing. But that's still a combination that you could pick out of.
Wouldn't you just have to add 1?
To this? Yeah, if you're not going to choose it, then that would be an option of yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about that. I'm just looking at pure just combination. You are picking one from each category. Okay, that's all I'm looking at. So if you multiply all this together, you get a really, really, really big number.
44,944.
Right, so in other words, you'd be going to Subway very often to get one of each.
They are.
It goes along the same lines of when you start, as you guys start to get older, you'll start to want to, I don't know, maybe buy a car, maybe buy a new one. And then I'm sure most of you guys have done this, or I know that when I was always a gearhead, that on this thing called the internet on computers, even on phones, and I don't know if you've heard about it, you can build and price a car. You ever seen that?
Oh,
Not
yeah.
like those.
Where you start choosing what color do you want, 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, do you want this, do you want the options. You start tagging along all those different options. So you start thinking about, yeah, leather, heated, whatever. Guys, you wind up with just picking, with one vehicle, you're gonna have thousands and thousands of different ways of configuring it. Now, what happens when you go to, let's say you build one, and you go to a dealership and say, hey, I want to buy this car. Well, the probability that they have specifically the one out of the 20 different thousand options that you could get on the lot, exactly spec the way that you wanted, is slim to none. Now, what the dealer will try and do is that they're going to try to sell you something very similar to something they already have, because they already have it on the lot. They're already paying the retention to have it on the lot to the manufacturer. Now, what'll happen is, for example, when we went to order our truck, we spec'd it out in such a way, went to the dealership, say this is what we're looking for. We're like, okay, we don't have that specific one, but how about this? I'm like, no, I want a different towing package, I want a different this, that, and the other. I wanted to be extremely specific to what we were buying. And they did a search, and all around the dealerships partner up with other dealerships around the country. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before. Where they'll do trades. Did you guys know that? No. So what happened was that in the spec of the truck that we wanted for our family, there was only 2 of them in the country. There was one, there's one in California, and there was one up in Wausau, Wisconsin. Which one do you think the dealership was more than willing to go with?
California.
Yeah, no. So we basically, the only thing that we didn't get to choose was the color.
Oh, that's the best part though.
I really wanted the light silver, and this one was the dark gray, which is fine. The dark gray is really nice. I like it a lot now. It's grown on me, but at first we were kind of, oh man, what's? But in order for us to get a vehicle that's spec'd the way we wanted, you're going to get a better deal if you purchase something that it's on a lot already, instead of having to go through ordering. 2 things. First of all, you're getting it off the dealer's hand, which means they're going to get their money faster. Second of all, you don't have to wait 3-4 months to build it. Now, there are advantages and stuff like that to do that. I know, for example, if you ever do want to buy a BMW or a Mercedes, sometimes you can have the option to take delivery at the factory. You would pay and fly over to Munich or wherever in Germany, and your car would come down this is true, this is what they do. The car will come down the elevator, and they present you the car, and you get to go drive around the Autobahn little area right there, and then they'll ship it back to the States for you. It's a lot of money to do that, but it is an option if you have the funds to take European delivery. It's kind of crazy. It's horribly expensive. So when you start thinking about later on, remember, all these different combinations, they all add up to really big numbers. So there's not just one style car that fits all. They're spec'd out all these different ways. So I just thought it was really cool. The other thing that we talked about third hour was, think about the clothing options you have. If you start thinking about, and I asked that we kind of got into this conversation of figuring out the number of different outfits you can make by picking parts of outfits. And then it turned out to be way too technical, because our pants and skirts weighted equally. I'm like, well, you might have a skirt, you might have pants, you might have a sarong. I know. You might have a kilt. I don't know. You might not have a dress. I don't know. So,
Wait, what is this?
isn't a sarong like a wrap or something?
A toga?
Yes! It's like a toga.
That's wrong.
No. I just thought of a word and I thought you guys
Blowing a toga tomorrow.
I know a sarong is something. It's not sarong that I don't know what it is.
Does this sound too wrong to you?
That was I can't.
So here's what I want you to do.
No, you did that. Kevin's screaming. Wow.
Count,
Oh, is that a
Yeah.
toga?
go through and count
That is
the
not a
number of.
toga.
What's this?
A garment consisting of okay.
Oh, it's,
Oh, that's not a toga.
Yeah.
Then it's
Oh, that's what we're sharing. What is that?
It's
go count the number of bottoms you have.
Like underwear, like shorts.
Sarong's count as bottom.
How about this? Bottoms that you would wear to school.
I hope you were all right.
You're not honest to me.
I mean, I'm listening to
I mean, I don't
Let me try this again. Bottoms that you would wear on the outside.
Superman.
some pants and stuff.
Pants and stuff.
You know, I'll show you tomorrow.
I'm gonna be sick tomorrow.
Wait, did you wear all your clothes on the outside?
Okay, I just have more than one bottom.
Outermost layer.
No pants, but.
So you count your size on your shirt.
Bottoms.
Okay. So what if you're wearing like
I'm counting pants, sweatpants, shorts,
No, I at least have
leggings, jeggings,
Wait, so our dresses
skirts.
Wait, not dresses.
Let's not count dresses.
Wait,
I at least have 41.
the skirts where you have shorts on the side of the skirts, is that kind of?
Stop talking to me.
That's kind of
What about the jumpsuit?
We voted no on that.
What about the baseball?
Is this our homework? Counting our
No,
clothes?
we have more to do
I
still.
would like
What about
that.
And then count them. And then tops. Tops can be, think just shirts or t-shirts. Let's not count sweatshirts.
Wear a crop top.
Because your sweatshirts, oh, I don't care, count them. Whatever. Whatever you would wear on the top.
What about jackets?
A romper is a tie with a shirt attached.
What's a romper?
If you have
Yeah,
a
it's like
romper,
whatever the-
I don't.
then don't care because you're not counting
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Just
What
count it.
about jumpers? They're like the same thing, but
They're
they're
like
like
overalls.
pants.
But
Pretty much.
are they separate?
What kind of overalls?
Then don't count.
What about the footsie pajamas?
Yeah.
What about onesies?
Bottom, top. It's just, they have, if you cut them, so there's a bottom and a top, then you can count it.
What if you don't cut?
Why are you
Then don't count them.
You're not.
Just do
You know what,
this.
Wait, do bras count? That's
I'm so.
like half of what they do.
Another thing that happens, this is where, another thing that can happen, is, this is where you guys are doing that whole game, was it Guess Who?
Yeah.
When you talk about the way that police look at criminals, if you talk about the number of ways of bad guys you can create, if you know 195 different hairlines, times 95 eyes and eyebrow sets, 99, times 89 different noses, times 105 different mouths, times 74 chins and cheeks, which is basically jawline. When you multiply that together, what do you get?
A lot of stuff. 1.33 to the 10th.
All right, so you're saying 1.33 times 10 to the 10th?
Yeah.
So that's 133. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's a lot more than that. So I think if you had your non, yogurt calculator, it actually would put out that whole digit there. So start thinking about what number this is.
I mean,
More
it puts
people in the
decimals,
world.
but Eric, that's 1.4.
That's 13.3 billion, I believe.
It did actually say
So, and you're right. That pure combination gives you more than there are people in the world. So the probability that you're going to find who robbed you, not knowing anything, pretty slim to none. Now, what happens if you knew what their eyes and their noses look like?
Take them out.
Because the example is, let's say that they happen to be wearing a ski mask, where all that was covered. Yes, sir.
If you take out, if you just like take out one of those, then the chances decrease or increase, right? So it makes it a smaller number. But you know less information. So
Well, if I know, let's say I got it on video, I have a picture of this. So I'm able to distinguish what these are. So I know for certain out of that 99, I know what that one looks like. Out of the 89, I know what that one looks like. So you're right, it now decreases the pool, which means it increases the odds of finding it.
That's still 1.5 million.
It's still 1.5 billion. I mean, when you do that, you still have a really large number, but the idea here is, guys, if you are ever getting mugged or robbed, please take a good look at your aggressor, because you can take it from 13.3 billion to 1.5 million possibilities.
make sure you see who it was.
So try your best. You're an idiot.
Have you seen Take It? Really have a look at which one?
Guys, so what I'm getting at here is, yes, some of these things seem horribly, horribly silly. But as long as you start to understand that as numbers get really, really, really big, when you're talking about options and stuff, if you know one thing, if you know two things, I mean, in this case here, let's say they were just wearing a bandana over their mouth, and you take off the 95, and you know what their hairline looks like.
Or not.
That's why the Cowboys aren't around anymore, because Cowboys only wore bandanas. You saw their hair.
They wore a hat.
Hats fall off all the time.
No, not if you get straight on someone.
Am I right?
How are you going to sell it?
I know this is a really stupid a way of explaining it, but if you're getting robbed, or you're getting mugged or something, take off your hat, try and like get near a security camera, like run towards it in 7-Eleven. Take a selfie. Face swap is what you guys are doing nowadays. Real fast, this might be the last sample we get through here today. One of the other things that happens when you start talking about possible combinations and ways that things work is when you're looking at license plates. In license plates, and the example they give us here in the book is using the plates from New York. New York license plates go 3 numbers and then 3 letters. Now they're allowing the numbers to repeat. So how many digits are there? 10. So in each one of these columns here, you have 10 options for the first number, 10 options for the second, 10 options for the third. How much?
1,000.
Oh,
Yes.
27
Whoa. How many letters are in the alphabet?
26.
Oh, 27. What part are you?
Can you sing that when you
Grace.
far?
Grace. It's okay, go get the next one.
So if you're looking at pure combinations of just letters of allowing things to repeat themselves out, you still get a really large number. I think this works out to be like 17 million.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's why, then you start looking at all the different license plates that are optioned now. In Illinois, we have what? A dozen different license plates? And then you have different college license plates and different alumni associations. You have all these different license plates with all these different combinations of numbers and letters. So if there's some combination that you really, really want, you'll probably be able to figure it out by picking a different license plate. Secretary of State has a great website. You hear it's on computers. You can type in poop and see if they'll accept it for your license plates. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they won't.
What if you have like,
somebody has
No, you just have P00P.
Well, you can't do that. In Illinois, license plates for cars go letters first, then numbers, or just all letters or all numbers. You can't intermingle letters and numbers within plates. You can do that in some other states you can, but other ones you can't. Now, real fast here though, what happens if you cannot repeat the digits? You start with
10, 9,
10, then what's left?
9,
Then what?
8,
Then what?
7.
Whoa!
26.
Now we're at letters.
26.
So how many letters in the alphabet?
This
it's okay, Grace, you get the next one. We have to say that during soccer, like if we mess up. Be positive.
So you can start to see that
They mess up.
this is also where you get into your combinations and the possible draws of lottery. Remember when we started doing the, I showed the websites where the numbers are pulling out of the when you pick the numbers against the draw. In the Powerball, you've got 54 numbers to pick from. One of them comes out, there's 53, then another, and so on and so forth. This is the idea of how you get these combinations to pick. And then you're drawing against the possibility of picking the one out of that large, stupid, huge number. That's why it's so improbable to win lottery. It just doesn't happen. Okay? Let me give you guys a couple of these for tonight.
Right here.
Thank you.
I don't know how to do this.
This is in 12-1. Do those, please. Thank you. All right. We will pick up tomorrow with the last bit of 12-1. We start talking about the actual permutations of these, where you have 26 letters in the alphabet, and then we want to pick 4 of them. How does this work itself through? And then we'll go from there. Tomorrow we'll actually have a little bit more time in class to do the work because we're a little short today. You guys got this one okay? So go back to request. Just phone call. You can use your phone if I post it. You want to take a board just in case? You'll be fine with that. Which one are you looking at?
Before, after, like, wait, go back to the highlighted page. That.
Oh, you don't have to write that out.
No, I'm writing the password out.
Oh, yeah, it's just fine. It's the event A concurrent times event B. That's all it is.
I just want to
Why?